like you said so eloquently in the start of the show, it's the 10-year anniversary
Yes, it is.
of the Liberal Party being officially in power in Canada. It's been a decade, guys. It's been a decade. Do you remember the day that Trudeau was elected?
Yeah, we were all very happy because he was going to legalize weed.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
What a disaster that
well, I
turned
mean,
out.
he did, at
Oh, yeah, he
least.
did. At least he followed his one promise.
At least now you can get high to forget about how shitty life is. I remember the morning post-election. I woke up before heading to the office, and I remember vividly, and I'm not making this up, thinking to myself, well, this is going to suck for the next 4-ish years ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Never in my worst nightmare could I have fathomed just how fucking bad it got because of the Liberal government. I mean, I thought, okay, well, they're going to try to take my guns away from me, and the economy is going to like it's going to stagnate a bit, and like whatever. They're going to pass a bunch of like gay rights shit. Like, that's what I thought it was going to be as bad.
That's all it's going to be. Yeah, they'll add the country in a bit of debt, and, you know, we're going to solve it at some point. But I didn't think that we would be in the financial gutter like we are today. And you know what? I would love to
run through
take the stage here and really show so much stuff. So, if you've been following the headlines, you know Stellantis left Canada.
Absolutely.
And this is Melanie Joly's response to Stellantis leaving Canada.
Well, let me be clear on Stellantis. I'm extremely disappointed about this decision, and not only am I disappointed, it's completely unacceptable. So we will fight for these jobs. We will fight for the jobs at Brampton. We'll fight for the jobs that were committed by Stellantis, and we'll fight for our auto sector. I've been in contact with Lana Payne, the head of Unifor, yesterday and today. I've been in contact with Flavia Volpe, who's an important voice in the sector. We've been working hand in glove also with the Ford government, and we're one strong Team Canada together.
What a useless response, okay?
Oh, God.
Completely useless. Why do you think Stellantis left Canada? Do you think Stellantis left Canada because Canada is like this safe haven for business investment?
Yeah, see, that's the issue, right? They're pandering to I don't want to say an ignorant voter base, but perhaps an ignorant voter base who don't quite understand that companies like Stellantis going to the US, they're not doing it out of the kindness of their heart, because it requires a lot of investment and a lot of headache to move such operations to a new country.
Absolutely.
They don't want to do it.
And the only reason they would take on that headache is if the government is giving them an even bigger headache, which we know the Liberals do to business, because we have the proof here.
That's a good point. Right on.
You know, and Canadians paid Stellantis $52.5 billion of corporate subsidies were earmarked for EVs, and $15 billion were for Stellantis. Okay, so in another episode, we said $1 billion is about $45 per taxpayer, right? So $15 billion times 45. The average Canadian can cry about wasting $675 of their tax money on this useless subsidy to open a business in a country where the government is fundamentally useless in understanding the needs of the business community. Stellantis did not leave because they're these evil, malicious capitalists. They left because they have a better opportunity bringing their business down to the United States, where Donald Trump is welcoming them with open arms, saying, yes, come invest in the United States of America.
Yeah.
Donald Trump has driven almost $20 trillion of investment from huge companies with his tariff war. Now, I'm not going to say that the tariffs have just been a gleaming success. There are obviously terrible side effects that come with the tariffs. But to onshore $20 trillion of relevant business, we're talking about Apple, we're talking about TSMC, a semiconductor manufacturer, onshoring to the United States. We don't have that in Canada, and we have very similar resources. And the only difference we have is a Liberal government that is completely anti-business, anti-growth, anti-economy.
Absolutely.
No matter how much they posture on this, no matter how much they say, oh, we're fighting for those jobs, we're fighting for that country, just look at the tax brackets in this freaking country, and that'll answer your entire question.
And the interesting thing is that I remember we spoke about it on the show almost a year ago when the tariffs were being discussed. And Curtis made a good point. He said Trump is on a mission to reshore the manufacturing potential of the US. And that's exactly what he's doing. And we're suffering. And we're suffering not because of Trump's moves. We're suffering because
The lack of our own.
exactly. It's our own doing.
You know, Kevin O'Leary really hammered the Liberals this week on specifically why Donald Trump hates Chrystia Freeland.
Good, so do I.
But this really summarizes the practices of the Liberal Party of Canada. This is how they think they're helping the country. Or let's be honest, they're extremely malicious people from my perspective anyways. But this is what Kevin O'Leary had to say.
Do you think that the pursuit of the 51st state, that's over? Or are we going to get back on that at some point? What's your view?
You have to understand the nature of Donald Trump and what happened with two people in Canada. Justin Trudeau, who I call the Idiot King, and Freeland. When they came down before the inauguration to Mar-a-Lago, I was there. I didn't realize how toxic that relationship is, and I thought it was mostly Trudeau. I was wrong. It was Freeland. Trump hates her. And
Why?
Why? Because if you recall in his first mandate, she started throwing barbs, and it was also with Trudeau at him 2 years into his first term, all over the world, when there was tensions, little tensions, but they started, and he is like an elephant, he doesn't forget. But she also is radioactive waste in Mexico, Egypt, India, and China. She is the most incompetent politician that we've ever had in Canada. She had no executional skills, didn't understand policy whatsoever. And remember, she had pretty broad mandates. She had deputy prime minister. She was finance minister. The reason we lost billions in investment was when she proposed a capital gains tax, which was absurd in the G7, because she had no idea what she was doing. But when Carney went down to the White House for the first meeting, Trump specifically fingered her out and said, "Don't bring her back here." And she was still in cabinet. Now, luckily, he whacked her, and that's so important for
Well,
Canadians.
now we know what's going to happen in Ukraine. She's going to fuck it all up
We're
there.
talking about the former Deputy Prime Minister of Canada, who was in power for a very long time, being hated by the leader of the free world. Okay? What that should tell every single voter in Canada is that your government is not understanding the needs of the international, is not understanding international concerns, is not understanding U.S. concerns, is not willing to understand U.S. concerns, is not educated enough to address U.S. concerns. Chrystia Freeland was an appointed finance minister who had a background in Russian literature. Okay, she doesn't understand finance. She doesn't understand stock markets. This girl is completely, like you said, completely incompetent. And she was driving fiscal policy in this country.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and have you seen the Canadian dollar lately?
Well, it's not doing good.
Well, let's take a quick look at the Canadian dollar, okay? And we thought that, the market rather thought that, Carney comes in, we have a strong leader, potentially anyways, come in, and the Canadian dollar rallied to about 74, 73 US.
Love the word rally.
Rallied, yeah. Actually,
we're far
it's
away
a complete dumpster fire, to be honest.
We're far away from parity like we used to have.
Yeah, and now we're back down to 71 cents US, okay? And we have been downtrending for several years, as you can see by this 5-year chart. We're talking about, let's see how the Canadian dollar has performed since Stephen Harper left office compared to the US dollar, okay?
I miss those days, eh?
2011, 99 cents US. You know, we're averaging over 80 cents US throughout Harper's time in office. Okay, this is elbows up. Let's just be honest here. This is what elbows up looks like. A dollar at almost parity with our US counterparts, which gives us a ton of leverage to negotiate trade deals with our natural resources. It gives us leverage to work with the Americans, expand our own infrastructure, expand our businesses. Because we have leverage, we have less debt, we have a lot more money in the bank, and people want to work with us. People don't want to work with broke ass Canada, $2 trillion in federal debt, a Canadian dollar tanking to 71 cents US, and probably headed to the 60s.
Back again to
and
the
is going to
60s,
stay at the 60s. That's my bet. I think the Canadian dollar is going to sit at like 65 to 69 cents US for probably 3 to 5 years until clueless liberals wake up and decide we need a new government. Let's vote for Pierre Poilievre.
Yeah, the having a weaker loonie, a weaker dollar helps only one thing, and it's exports, because it makes our exports more attractive, right? But the thing is, we don't really export much because we refuse to explore our natural resources. See, if we said, look, right now shit's not going good economically, so we're going to take advantage of the fact that our dollar is not really being loved by the international community, and we will start exploiting like maniacs our natural resources, and we will export it, sell it abroad, since it's more attractive to the rest of the world because it's cheaper, and this will boost our economy and we will get out of the gutter. I'd be like, you know what? You're an entrepreneur as much as I am. Shit happens, man. Challenges occur, problems arise, there's fires to put out. But you take the shots and you roll with them and you make the best as you can.
Mm-hmm.
Tate said this once, and I do agree with Tate when he says this. He's like, even when you're playing chess and you are losing, even if all the moves on this chessboard leads to a loss, there's still a best move to make no matter what. So our loonie sucks. Okay, let's get over it. Let's extract our resources and sell it abroad. We'll make more money and our loonie will be better.
They had a decade to address these issues.
Yeah,
okay,
of course.
they've had since 2020, since COVID, to really fix these issues, probably shrink the size of government and let the free market kind of do its thing.
Yeah.
You know, when Melanie's like, when Melanie Joly is saying we're fighting for those jobs, or you don't need to fight. You need to sit down and shut up and shrink the size of your government and let these businesses do what they need to do. We don't need you to fight. We need you to create opportunity for businesses to come in by shrinking the size of the government, by cutting down taxes. So Canadians so people can look at Canada and say, wow, Canada is a place where I want to put some money.
Yeah.
I want to invest in this country. It's tax friendly. I could start a business there. It's easy. Like the approvals are quick. I don't have so much red tape. I could start my enterprise there. And then that creates jobs. And let's take a look at the results that these ridiculous brain dead policies have caused in this great country. Let's take a look at business investment per capita, Canada versus the US, okay? You can see that we were pretty much in line with the US up until 2015.
Yeah, it's pretty much
right here.
lines up, yeah.
Business investment in Canada has fallen while it is rising in the US. Let's take a look at it. Let's take a look at something else. In the OECD, real GDP per capita growth projection between 2025 to 2030. So this is our projections for growth compared to the rest of the world in the next 5 years.
Yeah.
Okay. Canada is second to last.
Nice.
Okay.
I can't wait to eat the bugs.
And you know, we were talking about what is the government doing? What is the government doing about this? How is Mark Carney going to address this? No, it's not nothing. It's worse than nothing.
Oh,
They're
nice.
doing horrible things. Automatic tax filing announcement met with mixed reactions. So the CRA, and this was brought to Canadians' attention by Franco Terrazzano, by the Canadian Taxpayer Federation. I want to give a quick shout out to this guy. I've been following him for many years, okay? And he does not get the attention he deserves by the Canadian population. Franco Terrazzano is someone who brings some excellent excellent, relevant economic data to Canadians consistently with the taxpayer, with the Canadian Taxpayer Federation. His website is excellent. It shows our country's debt. He's constantly bringing out great facts. And this is something that he is bringing out to Canadians' attention, that the CRA acting as both the tax filer and tax collector is a serious conflict of interest. Trusting the taxman to do your tax return is like trusting your dog to protect your burger. And he's talking about the CRA trying to, and Prime Minister Carney trying to, what they call simplify filing your taxes by essentially automating it and leaving it in the power of the government. And so Franco Terrazzano is taking the initiative to bring this to our attention. And I think Canadians should really follow his channel, Canadian Taxpayers Federation, and follow what this guy has to say, because he's been bringing great information to Canadians and he does not get the clout he deserves.
More, by the way, than just follow it, right? It's a non-for-profit, so you can become a member and you can, buy a membership. So to support the organization, I think they do a great job indeed.
Absolutely.
I had the chance to meet, I don't know if it was Frank or one of his colleagues, but at an event at the Forest and Stream Club, a private club I used to be a member at, which is a very conservative club, by the way. I had a chance to meet one of the Canadian Taxpayer Federation staff member, founder, whatever, don't remember his name. He was a good guy, though, had great conversation. I got lost a little bit in the whiskey, though, but it's things that happen. It's things that happen.
So let's take a look at a result of a decade of lowering business investment in this country, okay? Nick Nanos from Nanos Research did a poll, and let's take a look at what he had to say.
Next generation of Canadians, what do they think about their standard of living? Where do they expect to be?
These are killer stats, Roger. We track every 90 days. We ask Canadians whether they think that the next generation will have a higher, lower, or the same standard of living. In the latest round that we just completed a couple of weeks ago, 8%, Roger. Only 8% think that the next generation will have a higher standard of living. Almost 2 out of every 3 Canadians, 64%, think that the next generation will have a lower standard of living. And, the thing is, that negativity on the lower standard of living has increased since the election from 59 to 64. Now, I guess one way to look at it, if we go way back, the thing is that, we see that those negative numbers have been as high as 70. But the fact of the matter is, today, Canadians are 8 times more likely to think that the next generation will have a lower standard of living.
That's rough.
So just take a look at this chart here, okay? May 2012. Stephen Harper is prime minister. The Conservatives are in power. 52% of Canadians, so 26, think that their future standard of living for the future generation is going to be either higher or around the same. So what that tells me is that 52% of Canadians thought the country was pretty much on a good place or it's going to get better. Compared to now, only 8% of Canadians think it's going to be better, and only 31% of Canadians think it's going to be either better or the same. That is, a 40% drop in optimism for the future of this country.
A huge difference.
It's stark.
But it's also seen also in self-reporting data, right? So over here, I have data from, and this is like crowdsourced data. So it's mostly from a website called Numbeo. Numbeo. It compares different standards of living and things between countries. In 2013, in terms of quality of life, this is the quality of life index based on user-reported data, and it has a pretty large N number, so lots of sample size. Canada ranked number 5, and they looked at various things like purchasing power, safety, healthcare, cost of living, property price to income ratio, traffic commute time, pollution, climate. It looks at a lot of variables. Canada ranked 5th behind Sweden, but ahead of the UAE and ahead of places like Denmark and Norway, great countries.
Great, fantastic places to live.
Yeah, so Canada, this was us in 2013, not that long ago, right? That's 12 years ago. Today, 2025, what do you think our ranking is? Before I show you the juicy details.
20th?
You know what? That would have been great. But sadly, we're 27th. We have dropped all the way down to 27. We are behind Belgium, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, fucking Czech Republic. I love the Czech Republic, but I mean, fuck. I've been, and it's
Lithuania has a better standard
Lithuania,
than
Croatia,
Canada.
Slovenia. Estonia, a great country. I've been many, many times as well. Love Estonians, but it's again, they're former Soviet bloc countries.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's what they are. Like 20 years ago or 30 years ago, they were part of the Soviet Union. You know what I mean? So that is not cool. That is not fun. And now you're gonna say yes, but these again, those are. Woo! These are self-reported numbers. It's not experts. Well, I do trust a large group of people, a lot more than I trust 1,000% more these little small groups of experts who get grants from the federal government.
You know what I think is contributing to this Canadian misery we're seeing?
Ooh, what is it?
Housing prices and food prices and housing availability and those three things: housing availability, housing prices, and food prices. Okay, like core things we need for core survival.
Yeah, well, the consumer price index, right? That's what it is ultimately.
Does the CPI factor those things?
Yeah. The CPI is housing and it's food. Yeah.
Okay,
for sure.
Okay, so let's take a look at this. So condo project cancellations hit record high as sales fall to 35-year low.
Condo project cancellation hit record high. Yeah.
So people are canceling condo projects. I believe
for
it's
sure.
in Toronto.
Yeah, that's Toronto. That's Daniel. I'm actually meeting with him Saturday.
He posts some great stuff.
Oh, he's fucking great.
Yeah,
he focuses on real estate and economy more than anything, but he's fucking fact driven.
Condo project cancellations hit record high as sales fall to 35-year low.
Yep.
35-year low. I'm 32 years old, so basically before I was born. Okay. The plateau in Canadian home prices. This is by Valerie Insights. Okay, they did essentially a Oxford. This is from Oxford Economics, actually. Okay. They see the price dipping in 2026 a little bit. So the prices have dipped a little bit, but they're still some of the highest in the OECD.
They're some of the highest, but we have pulled back almost 17% already.
Despite that 17%, our prices are still some of the highest.
For sure.
And so what this chart shows is that housing prices are expected to continue to go higher and higher. Okay, this is while the economy is projected to be the second worst growing in the OECD in the next 5 years. Isn't that what we showed in the earlier chart? You remember that?
Yeah.
Okay, so what that is stagflation. This is what economists call stagflation, when the prices of commodities and things are going up, but the underlying economy is either stagnant or shrinking. And so...
But it's okay, because we have Freeland called it vibe session, bro. We're in a vibe session.
It's just a vibe session,
It's a vibe session.
People are according to her, people are just pessimistic about the economy, which is what's making the economy look worse.
That's why we're in a vibe session.
Oh my God.
So you pointed out the housing prices, right? So they're going to continue to go up, which I'm happy because I own property. So boo, yeah, motherfucker, I'll be rich. Even though I'll be poor because I won't be able to afford a basket of goods, but it's okay. At least I'll have a very expensive house.